Hi everybody, today is May 14th, Tuesday, May 14th, 2013, and here I am on my beautiful little patio garden on Bowen Island, British Columbia. There's our lovely view there. And today what I want to talk to you about and what I want to share with you is how my family and I are maximizing our productive capacity on a very small space. I'm not talking about just maximizing vegetable production. We're achieving multiple things here. We're maximizing what we can do, the variety of things, because the demands of our system aren't necessarily vegetable production, and it has to do with the fact that I'm a professionally active permaculture designer and educator. I'm doing a lot of design these days. And my clients need plants, and they often need plants that are difficult, if not impossible, to source in some of the more conventional nurseries. So I'm going to run through a few of the things we're doing in terms of perennial plant propagation, some little experiments we're running here. And so I guess how that works is that in this very small space, I'm also doing some things for my business and trialing some experiments that I might actually be able to do out on the larger scale. And as all of my past students will know, and any students of Jeff Lawton's for that matter, when we're implementing and rolling out permaculture, it's always best to establish a nucleus and branch out from there rather than jump into broad acre landscape implementation on things that haven't been trial and tested. So really this is our nucleus here. And for me and my family, the most important thing is high quality, nutrient dense vegetables that are close at hand and ready to eat, and that's what we have behind us here. Right here we've got some broad beans and some peas, and the peas are growing up the railing, and then below that we have some salad greens growing. And these planters that we're trialing this year, we've got two of them, because we have three of them. There's another third one behind me, but we're trying these this year. They're something that we picked up from Lee Valley. They were $44 each. And they are a cloth planter that supposedly allows better airflow and better air circulation into the soil, and therefore a higher quality soil. Supposedly it also prevents the plants from becoming root bound, because rather than hitting plastic and running along it, they just stop growing, which actually produces healthier plants. In these planters, and actually you'll see in most of our planters, we've got these white spouts that are sticking up above. And in all of my research and the things I've learned, I haven't been much of a container gardener until relatively recently, is that the two critical elements to successful container gardening vegetable production are high quality soil, which I'll get to in a minute, and constant maintenance of moisture supply. Now you can either do that by watering 3 times a day, which I don't want to do because that kind of starts to make it a little bit too onerous to make it worthwhile, or creating a what's quoted or called commonly on the internet as a self-watering garden bed. It's not really self-watering because the gardener still needs to water it, but a different way to describe it would be a reservoir capillary bed. And that's actually what I've done here, is I've retrofit these bins, which all have holes and drain holes in the bottom, to be reservoir bins, and what they actually have in them is something that looks like this. We have an old high-density plastic container. This one happens to be a biodegradable cleaning agent. We have a yogurt container which has had holes drilled in it, a hole cut in the top of that container, and then we have this pipe here that comes all the way up to the surface, and that's all. This is from here down is what's buried in the soil. And what we can do regularly is fill this with water, and this is what I do when I water out here. You can see the water level coming up. You see the yogurt container is rising as well. But what happens is that this will fill. So this container holds 3 liters of water. And watch, when we get to the edge there, where the yogurt container meets the joint, it starts to overflow, and then that's full. And so we have 3 liters of storage. And you'll see that this is filled with water there. Well, actually in ground that's filled with soil, so there's a column of soil there, and by capillary action, that soil, this potting mix soil, will wick water up and keep the soil uniformly moist. And so we find that we only need to fill these water, depends on the plant, but every couple days we fill these up with water. So that's what you see in all of these white tops here, is that we've got these, so they're all set up for self-watering. So that's our vegetable growing system. That's the vegetable growing corner. And then down over here, I've actually got some perennial plant propagation going. This is a comfrey plant, which is about to flower, which is going to bring in some beneficial bees. And right here, these cuttings, hold them up so you can have a better look. These cuttings are actually autumn olive, which is a nitrogen-fixing non-legume plant from the Elaeagnus group. I don't know if it's actually an Elaeagnus, but it's the same group of plants. And this plant is actually here on Bowen Island. I noticed it this winter because these some winters can hold their leaves here on the west coast all winter long, and so I saw it and made some cuttings with my daughter about 3 months ago, and these are already starting to root, and so I've got a bunch of cuttings there. I'm going to be planting these out in my mother's food forest in the fall once they've had a good chance to root. Right here, these are actually M111 apple rootstock that I am growing into apple trees for grafting next year. I have the soil in this container filled to that point, so the plants are going to throw roots. So I'll be able to take this bucket off in the fall and or the winter and cut those off, and I'll have new apple trees. I'm growing out some chives here, a little rosemary, got some borage plants growing. Behind us over here, these are what I just planted yesterday with my daughter. These are apple rootstock B118, and we're actually going to use these. We're going to plant these out. No, we're not going to plant them out actually. At the end of the summer, I'm going to come in, I'm going to bud graft onto the base of them. So here in this little space on my patio, I am growing 45 apple trees that I'm going to graft into a single variety this year, and the following year I'm going to graft 3 more varieties on. I'm going to grow them espalier style. So right here, and espalier, once they're at maturity 2 years from now, these trees will each be worth $50 to $80 a piece. So I'm getting them going here, and then at our micro farm, which is on the other side of the island, up over the mountain that way, we'll be planting those out a couple years from now as a multi-graft system. Down here, I've got these little hoop houses that we put together one afternoon. I think it was about $30 worth of materials, and I'm doing some seedlings. These ones didn't go. I used old seed. We got some that went there. And then back here, these are our vegetable seedlings. We prefer soil blocks. It's our preferred method because it makes really beautiful, strong seedlings, and these really well-developed, non-root-bound root systems. We find that we get a much better result when we get these plants in the ground. They don't experience the root shock. They're not root-bound. When you plant them, it doesn't look like they've suffered at all. So we've got those going. We had, actually we had 3 of these little hoop houses going up until a few days ago. So those are all of our growing systems. And now, oh, actually I want to show you one more thing. This is kind of cool. Is down here, so my daughter's got a little fig plant growing. And then down under here, in our replicated forest canopy, we have a wasabi plant. And wasabi, they are a shade-loving plant. And so they don't like being out in the full sun. So we have it down back in behind there so we can replicate that shade pattern. We're going to be planting this out in my mother's food forest too as time goes on. Right here on this side, this is our materials handling zone. In particular, I want to draw your attention to these 6 bins here. This is our nutrient management system. And it's actually, this is probably one of the most important elements of the whole system with regards to sustainability, because it's the hub of cycling all of our fertility. And without it, I don't think what we'd have going here would be possible, because in our potting mix, we have a potting mix of 1 part peat moss, 1 part vermiculite, and 1 part of our very own vermi castings. And our worms eat absolutely all of our food scraps that come out of the kitchen. They eat all of our meat, all of our fats, all of our vegetables, all of our excess, our rotten dairy that goes to waste, all of our starches that go to waste. Absolutely everything is fed to the worms, and we harvest both their castings and the leachate. This is, we have, from the winter, we have about 30 liters of leachate that we collected that we use when we irrigate our plants. So all of that is cycled back into our food growing system. We also amend as we go along with a mix of colloidal rock phosphate, blood meal, and another amendment called green sand. And sometimes we put that in with our worms, or sometimes we put it in with our soil mix. But the point is we're always turning things over. We're always cycling. So that's the important bit here. We've got some more materials back here for making our potting mixes, stuff in here. So we've got, as you can see, it's not a very huge, it's a big space as far as patios go, but it's not huge. And we have a high diversity of things serving different needs and different uses. And really, we feel that we're maximizing our production. And our goal is to eventually have most of this in vegetable production. But for now, we've got this hybrid mix of vegetables and perennials. And as we ramp up our micro farm on the other side of the island, we'll be able to move some of our perennial production out into the field. So thank you for joining us today, and we'll see you again on another topic of interest.